My friends in Porto, we grew
Hey buddy, how are you, man? You good?
What's up, man? How are you? Yeah, I'm
I'm
doing
good,
good.
man. I'm good. So, hi everybody. We're gonna still wait like a minute so people can join in. First of all, buddy, how's it been? How's everybody doing? Home, family, like how's the situation, buddy?
Family is good. Ashley's good. Everything's cool. Other than just like everything going on here is just fucking
Yeah,
heartbreaking and terrible. Like it's just fucking crazy to see, you know. And
I can understand, man.
it's like
It's
it's like years and years and years of police officers being unchecked and not having to really answer to anyone and making up the rules, and finally people are like, that isn't happening anymore, and it's like inspiring to see, but it's
yeah.
it's just it's just heartbreaking to like every day is just like a new bad thing about like some absolute pile of shit like abusing his power, you know, every day.
I understand that. Yeah, that is not really comforting and a good like good news, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, fuck
yeah.
yeah, man.
And then
But
yeah, I don't know, I could rant on about it. It's just yeah, it's just fucking crazy. I can't act like it's not, you know.
no, obviously, man, obviously, and I'm like totally with you on this, man. You should totally like express whatever you want to express in the time you want to express, you know.
Yeah,
So So man, but like, thank you again for even like with the current situation, you're still doing this talk with me. So I'm like really excited to do this,
of
and
course, man. How are you guys doing?
I'm good, man. Like the situation like in this side of the planet, like people are also protesting and stuff. But I guess like it's problematic. Obviously, it happens everywhere, but it's problematic, more problematic in the U.S. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not like the I can I can speak like a lot on the subject because I'm not sure of how things really are. Like at least in Portugal, they're kind of chilled. UK has been a couple of like protests and stuff. So yeah, man. But like,
Yeah,
let's talk about recordings and let's let's talk about something positive because I
yeah,
think
I'm happy to.
through I think through recording and through like recording someone's expression or your own expression, it's a good way to use and channel your energy and probably to expose something or to use your voice as a tool. So recording is important too.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely an outlet for. It's definitely like a tense thing that can be like a huge release. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah, man.
like that's like recording whenever you finish like a record or something. It's like a. It feels like the last day of the shittiest year of school.
But buddy, like first of all, man, like, how did you start recording actually, and how when was like the interest on recording and learning to record, man? Do you remember, or was it something like natural?
I totally remember. Me and my friend Tom downloaded this program called Cool Edit Pro. We had a band. We wanted to record it. I didn't know what a recording studio was, and we were like, let's just do it ourselves. You know what I mean? His mom bought him 4 microphones and a mixer, and that's how it started. We would go RCA jacks into the headphone jack of a laptop, and we had 4 mics, and it started from there. And I was in 8th grade, so I was like 13.
Wow.
Um, so 13, and then I probably got like my first band. They paid me $20. Oh my god, they were called Twat. Their band was called The War Against Terror. Twat. And they paid me $20 to record them all day long. And they did a Rage Against the Machine cover. I remember it being pretty cool. And like it was just so crazy. Like, that happened, and then I got into like another band that paid $20 and another band that paid $20
for like a day session.
Yeah, and it was like at my parents' house, and I would like just set up. I couldn't mix it or anything. It would just go into the computer, however they did it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what I was doing at all. But yeah, that was cool. I did that. I mean, I did that for forever. Yeah, and then I started building like a studio out of my parents' house, and I actually paid Kyle, or the drummer of Daydream. I paid him 440s to crawl up in my parents' attic and lay all the cabling. So he went up in my parents' attic and ran all these microphone cables in like a jumpsuit. And because I was like too fat at the time to like fit through the hole to get up in the attic.
And he accepted that, right? Like,
oh yeah,
no questions asked.
I think he would have done it for 140, but I offered him 4.
Oh man, and like, obviously because you started like really young, the interest was not like something that, oh, I'm gonna do this. It was like you started doing it and then you just never stopped doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like I just loved the aspect of it, and I honestly think I was just so fucking bad at it that like the desire to get better was always there, and then it just hasn't left. Like that's what piques my interest all the time, is just like trying to get better. And you doing this, there's no rules or absolution to like making music, you know? So like you can do whatever you want all the time, which is like beautiful, and also creates a little bit of a rabbit hole for people that want answers, and there's just no answers to give, you know?
Exactly. No, because I mean, in music, there's not like a formula for like good music. You can express yourself in different ways and in different forms. So there's not like the absolute truth on how to do things. So I guess it's good to experiment and to go with the flow as well. And it's I don't know, I don't know if I ever asked you or not, but like, have you been to any like studies or professional like learning school, or I don't know, like?
Yeah, I went to school for recording for like 2 years, and then I dropped out because I just was like, this is really expensive, and recording school is a scam, essentially. Anyone watching that wants to go, it's an absolute cash grab for the establishment that is providing it. It's a total scam. And I don't suggest anyone goes. I did this other podcast where we talked about it, and I knew that the guy was like kind of like mutual friends with maybe people that worked at the school. So I was like a little bit lighthearted about the situation, but it was an absolute scam, and I wouldn't suggest anyone goes to school for recording. But I did do that, dropped out, and I was just already recording bands at my house. You know, I was already doing what I wanted to do. So.
Because one thing I noticed as well, like from your process of working, you're constantly watching other people's podcasts, other people's like information, like you're constantly like updating your knowledge about recording stuff. Is that a thing that you suggest other people to do that might be interested in recording bands and recording himself? Or
yeah, I mean, it's like a crazy, it just depends like what the capacity in which you would like to do it. I guess I would say that, like, if you have a job and you just want to like play around on the weekend, like by all means, you don't need to like consume your life with information, and you can just get by with whatever you like. But like, if you want to do this for a living, like, you know, you got to compete with motherfuckers like me that just care about it so much, you know? And then like, I have to compete with motherfuckers like Eric Valentine, who are just like a goddamn genius, like Spock, Star Trek, like recording engineer. So it's, and like, by all means, like if you don't hold yourself to those standards, you're not really going to get anywhere. Even if you don't achieve it, at least set it high enough for you to get further than where you are.
No, exactly, man.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I would just take in. There's so much free information, which is good and bad. My 2 cents on people with podcasts and people with YouTube channels is like, unless they've done something worthy of your time, like I would approach it all with a grain of salt, because
Oh, right.
why do they have time to make a YouTube channel if they're not working? You know, which is good. I just look at, I just take it all with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Like, if you have
Exactly.
like, you know, just take information in with some hesitation if it isn't from someone that you are aware of their work, because I feel like people's work speaks louder than their words.
Obviously, man.
Yeah.
Um, as you like as you said before, you studied like at your parents' house, like with some like little equipment and stuff. And that was like years ago. What is the difference between someone that started back in the days and someone that wants to start now? Is it easier to get like a better like quality equipment for less price than like 15 years ago or like 10 years ago? Like,
Yeah, so the the barrier of entry is basically non-existent anymore. Before, to have maybe a Pro Tools rig or any sort of DAW was quite a production, you know. Maybe like when I started, they were just starting to get like all-in-one interfaces, so you could have like a preamp that goes directly into your computer. Um,
hey,
Hi.
how are you, Ash?
Where are the keys?
I don't know.
Okay. Hi, love you guys. So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So yeah, you could have like a preamp going directly into the computer or something like that. But like, that was like way back in the day, and it was really crazy. Now it's, I mean, anything you get now, like people want to like flex on gear and stuff like that. But like, I do so much stuff on a $300 interface, like an
All
Apogee
right.
Duet interface. I do so much stuff in my house. Like, I do not care about the preamp. I do not care about the converter. I don't care about any of that stuff. I honestly don't even really care about the microphone. It just depends how I want it to sound. For Daydream stuff, I just use like a 57 for vocals, you know,
Yeah. You
which is like $100 or whatever. Like, it's not, I don't know. Like, the barrier of entry is not that crazy anymore. And yeah, it's like everything that you can get for a few $100s can totally be used on a record and will sound great if you know what you're doing with it, you know?
All right. So you probably suggest like people to get like more into um the theoretical part of the stuff, like to understand the equipment they have and to make it sound good with basically what they learned theoretically,
Yeah.
or
I'm,
should they? I don't know. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, I get, it's just so simple. Like, everyone really complicates it. Everyone gets really into gear. And don't get me wrong, like, gear is fun. I'm stupid enough to have invested in it. But it's not essential. It's not essential, and it's not what's creating anything. What great recordings come from are like amazing songs and amazing messages, not so much gear. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, obviously.
So no one really needs that much stuff. If you have one microphone, you can record bass, guitar, vocals, tambourine, whatever you need. Like, you just need one microphone, you know?
What is like the mic that you think is more like versatile?
If you, there's a company, I don't know, I've been kind of playing around with this because like so many people have been asking me stuff since like shelter in place happened. But if I was to invest money anywhere, I would invest in a really good microphone, which would be like for just a standard people to like find online really easily, maybe like a Warm Audio U47. And the U47 is just like what the Beatles used on everything, basically.
All right. All right.
Which is cool. Or, I mean, honestly, like a 57 is totally fine. You could find those
Like
for like
a
50
SM50.
bucks.
Oh, so that's a quite cheap like option as well.
Yeah, exactly. It just really depends, like I don't know. I know a lot of people record guitars with 57s and things like that, but actually on the last Daydream record, like I recorded almost everything with one U47 clone. Um, so all the guitars were like room mic guitars with one mic. It's the same mic I used for my vocals. It was the same mic I used for the bass, So I think all in all, like through that recording process, I used maybe 2 or 3 microphones because the drums are mono with one overhead. And the guitars are one room mic. So you can get very powerful with minimal amount of gear.
And one thing that like maybe I want to explain like to people that are watching or might watch later on IGTV and YouTube. One thing that like people need to understand. One thing is to record and capture sound, and another thing is to mix. So basically, for everybody that might be interested in recording their own stuff, it's good that you just capture any kind of sound and everything you want, because you might have help from a mixing engineer later on. Oh, sorry, let me just open the door. Joanna just arrived.
Hello, Joanna.
So basically, yeah. Sorry, I was just saying that I think that is what the reason I'm doing this kind of conversations is to get like more people to record their own stuff and to just experiment with music or with songwriting. So
Yeah.
basically, I'm just trying to let everybody know that recording is easy. You can record and then send your demos and stuff to someone that understands EQ and mixing and press the
Yeah. The crazy thing about this whole like quarantine thing is everyone's kind of approached their home recordings as demos, where I mean, for me personally, I don't demo songs. I just record songs. I write as I go. And then half the time I don't even remember it. I just send it to my band members and make them learn all the parts that I wrote. So, and I don't even remember how to play them. Like, so people saying they need to demo or whatever, like, you can get amazing quality out of the things that you have at home. If you have a 2-channel interface, you can use that almost endlessly on whatever you want. The biggest thing people need to worry about is source material. And by source material, I mean, if it sounds bad to your ears in the room, it's not going to sound better through a microphone.
All right. Yeah.
So just make sure it sounds good and then put a microphone somewhere and make sure that sounds good. If it sounds a little weird, move the mic. Like moving the mic is basically like EQ, because if you move the mic further away, it's less bright. If you move it closer, it's brighter. Like you want it less bright, move it further away. You want it brighter, move it closer. Like it's so easy.
All right.
It all seems so complicated, but it's so easy. I was watching the SpaceX launch like last week or whatever, and I was like, isn't it so weird that some like weirdo at Abbey Road called himself an engineer, but like people that build rockets are engineers. Like sound engineers are just glorified like button pushers. Like I'm so sorry. Like we understand what's going on like sonically or some. I mean, hopefully you do. If you're charging someone money, you know what's going on, but that's not always the case. But like it's in practice. It's a simple art form that's like more like cumulative of small moves as opposed to like big moves,
All right.
And you can make things sound the way you want. Like just use your ears. Like everyone's capable of doing that. And the fact that you're at home and you can experiment and go slowly, if you're interested in learning how to do it, just be methodical and be like so determined to like get the sound that you want, and don't record it till it sounds the way you want it to sound.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because like obviously you can study here or you can have that experience or this or that or that or that, but it's basically it comes down to use your 2 years that was given to you
Yeah.
and try to check first if it is sounding good to you, right?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. I mean,
And,
this has been really productive because you're giving so many tips. Like for me, for everybody's watching, it's really good, man.
and the crazy thing, I'm trying to think of like other like topics people have asked me like in quarantine, because I can't imagine their experience is much different than a lot of other people's experience. But the biggest thing that you could do is just make sure it sounds good at the source, like we already discussed, and then just don't clip it digitally. Just don't go in the red. If you don't go in the red, you're you'd be you'd be shocked, like if you sent your like tracks to me that you didn't clip, what I could do with them. You know,
All right.
because you don't need to like know how to use a compressor or an EQ. If anything, I would highly like anyone recording things on their own, like get it to sound good and feel good to you, but I wouldn't stress over processing, unless you want it to sound a certain way and you know how to achieve it. um, but like at the heart of it, like compression is so easy to do. And anything nowadays, what's crazy about like modern setups is, you could record your vocals with a 57, not clip it. Don't clip it. The number one rule is don't clip it digitally. It sounds like shit. So don't clip it digitally. And you can just make it louder in Pro Tools, even if it's quiet. Like
Yeah.
people work visually, unfortunately, because we can see everything now, which isn't necessarily a good thing, because they think that's too quiet, that's too loud, not based off of sound quality or meters. They're just looking at a screen,
Like
which
the
literally means nothing. You know.
yeah.
So it's very powerful. Like the tools are very powerful, but you could record a vocal, you know, in the UK, send it to me not clipped, and I could run it through a tube compressor and a tube EQ, and
Exactly.
it's like, what's up? You're right there. You know what I mean?
No, because that's the thing. Like there's a lot of people that record at home, and sometimes they use like plugins for compressors and stuff like that. And usually, I think it's better to send to someone that has the actual like hardware, because it's gonna have like probably like a different result. I remember in the process of recording our record, when you changed the digital plugins to the hardware, like with the bass and stuff, it was like a huge difference, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's crazy. I don't want to come on here and be like hardware over digital, because a lot of people do great things with digital tools.
right.
I'm just a dork about it and like hardware stuff, and it's fun, and I like twisting knobs. And I do think the characteristics of the low end and high end are significantly different in a better way. I guess I would say not a better way, excuse me, like a more familiar way to records that I enjoy. Because digital and hardware digital and analog just sound different. I don't think anyone is better than the other at this point. They're all pretty good, you know?
Um, like another question, dude, that I have, man, like this is actually like a doubt that I have. Like when I'm doing home recordings, there's like this actual like noise from microphone, or I don't know where it comes from, but there's like this shh noise. Is there any way or any technique to reduce that or to make it sound like pleasant?
Uh, there's a couple things. That could really improve that. Good cabling. So if you're using a cheap cables just are noisy. They're susceptible of picking up like radio frequencies and things like
All right.
that. So if you have a really high quality cable, it will be a very isolated signal.
All right.
And that's another thing of like, people kind of worry about the fancier side of recording, like gear and things like that. But a pretty decent microphone and a really good cable into a really clean box, that's like 90%.
By the way, what like interface you suggest for people to get like for home recordings, like a cheap, like quality price, like wise?
Um,
Like,
the big ones are like maybe like a 2-channel interface would be an Apogee Duet, which is what I have. I know Apogee is kind of in bed with Apple though, so if you're a PC user, I know a lot of people use Focusrite.
all
Something
right.
like that would be great. I know that other companies make like cheaper ones that I don't have experience with, but I guarantee you, like, it's probably comparable or the same price, you know, or the same quality. It's probably not that much different.
So basically, with like 200, I have an interface, but for people that don't have like with around $200, you can get something that you might be able to use and do home recordings, right?
Exactly. And you know, like, man, like, I don't think the term home recording is even relevant anymore because I mean, we did so much of your record in my house too, and it's not
Yeah.
a home recording. You know what I mean? Like, we did gang vocals in my bathroom. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's just recording now. Like, everyone is just capable of doing it at the same level. So the only excuse why it doesn't sound good is you and what you did to get it to that point. You're only limited
Yeah.
by like your knowledge at this point because the price point to get good quality is very, very low now. It's very low. Like, everyone's almost working at the same level.
All right. Oh man, that's a really good like this whole talk has been really good and like eyes opening because it's really good to have a different perspective on this subject because I think a week ago I talked with Ricardo. It was like the producer of my last record, and he he came like with a different approach than you, so it's actually good to see like how different producers, how different sound engineers see the like see perceive like differently, you know. it's
Yeah.
it only means that in music and sound there's no actual barrier or how to do, you know, like you're like free to experiment multi stuff and yeah, get like loads of different results. There's a comment here. I'm recording a demo with my band with my old home studio equipment. It sounds really nice, but it's hard to mix. Yeah, I mean, the mixing part, if you know a dude that can mix, send it the yeah, right? Scott,
Yeah,
what do you
send me your
suggest?
demo, bro. I'll mix it.
Exactly.
No, like, mixing. Okay, mixing is another hat, but like, it's different. It's different. You have to use a different, like, I think you use a different part of your brain personally because it's very clinical to me. It's like almost like doing math. Recording is like painting, and
All right.
mixing is doing math. You know, because your brain is like hyper focused on things that just no one will ever notice or hear. The other thing, with home recordings that people need to be aware of and people need to understand is, say you record everything in one room, right? The frequencies of that room, the issues of that room will build up across all the tracks. Like, say you have
All right.
eight tracks and you record it in a bedroom, it's not treated, and it's the low end is crazy and the high end is crazy. You're going to multiply that by 8 times. So you have 8 times the issue. So, like, for instance, what you could do to break things up is maybe record drums in your kitchen, record vocals in your bedroom if you want them warm, record guitars in the bathroom, change the environments.
So you can deny those that little problem, that little issue, right?
You're adding variation of space. So the variation of space will give you variables of sound. So it'll just sort of feel like it's a little bit more open. It won't feel static. And the other thing with digital recording that you need to wrap your head around is digital interfaces almost capture too much information. So, like, whatever the frequency spectrum of the microphone is, like the specs of the mic, which are available on all websites, it'll basically be a 20 hertz to 20K spectrum. It'll show you how the mic will react. equalization wise, because mics have their own EQ built into them. So with digital recording, it picks up a lot of trashy frequencies. It picks up so much more low end than tape machines used to do, or even consoles used to do. So some consoles would just roll off low end by default. By default, it was gone, and they'd have to add it back in. So on digital, you have all that information there, so you need to sculpt it a lot more. You need to be a little bit more heavy-handed with your EQ moves in digital, depending on what you want to do. Another big thing is like people just never check for phase. They never check for polarity, which is a whole rabbit hole, but it's easy once you understand what it is, but it might sound a little crazy if I'm just throwing terms out there like that. But polarity will essentially, when you listen to like a super badass mix and it's like pumping and your speakers are moving and like the kick drum's pushing it out and it feels out, you're like, damn, this is fucking awesome. And what's crazy about sound is like, I'm not talking about like bands. I'm talking about like an Avril Lavigne mix or something like that, where you're like, damn, like, yeah, this is super stupid. Like this song is dumb as fuck, but it sounds really good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, how do they get it to sound like that? It sounds like I'm in a stadium, like in my shitty car. You know what I mean? Or like a Taylor Swift mix or something like that. And it's like all these little elements are all working together to like make the speaker move in a specific way. You know what I mean? So, especially like when you're dealing with bands and things like that, the biggest thing I notice is people's polarity on microphones is just like all over the place. So I don't know. I'm going down a rabbit hole. This is like what recording is. It just never ends. You could just talk about shit and it'll lead somewhere else, and it's irrelevant to what you talked about before. But there's like I guess what I'm getting at is like there's just simple things that people overlook that can make things so much easier. So like filtering out low end where you don't want low end. Like figure out what you want your low end to be. If it's a kick drum, like keep the kick drum full spectrum. Like keep it low end. Like so that means take low end out of the bass. So like for instance, I cut the bass low end.
All right. So kick drum can breathe on that low end, right?
Exactly. So they were talking about mixing. It's like it's probably like your frequencies aren't controlled, you know? Right. So or you have like guitars, and guitars and cymbals are kind of in the same spot. So what do you want to be brighter? You probably want the cymbals to sit above your guitars, which might sit here or whatever, and your cymbals sit there. So like take some high end off the guitars.
All right. So basically what you're suggesting is to actually visualize which instrument you want in which part of the spectrum. Yeah. And control those EQs to put like them like in separate places. So when you listen to everything has like definition and you can hear like everything not like muddy or
exactly
stuff.
Or another there's like proximity effect. So when you're miking things up, like do it with intention. Like if you've ever held your hand in front of your face, it gets muffled and like boxy, right? So the closer you put a microphone to something, that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like
all right. Now,
like that sound is just the sound of something close, like reflecting back, which like you gotta, so if you pull things back, it'll be clearer. And it'll be, you know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. Oh man. See, like these little tips and tricks are really like useful for people that are starting like recording their own stuff. You know. Yeah. I know they're like simple things, but they're really important for newbies like me. You know, like myself. I try to record my own stuff, obviously because I was in quarantine as well. And I faced a lot of like obstacles and stuff like that. And it's good to actually have a conversation like this that really like opens my mind. And next time I'm gonna open like my project, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I'll be a little bit more like
And the big thing is like as long as you're not clipping and the performance is good and your source material is good, like you can do a lot of things in mixing that can benefit it. You know what I mean? Exactly.
No, dude, thank you so much for your input on this subject, man. Like I'm just trying to bring like information to this platform, you know. like different information from filmmaking to recording. I'm going to start doing some songwriting stuff as well here. So
Nice.
basically, what I want to do is put like content that is available for people, like just to learn, or even if they don't want to do this professionally, to have at least a cool place to learn something and make it for fun or whatever, at
Yeah.
least have the opportunity to express themselves. And
Yeah.
I'm really thankful, man, that you joined and talked about this.
Yeah, of course. It's such a crazy thing. I mean, you just have to remember, like, everyone's been recording themselves for forever. It's just we have a much more powerful tools now. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
I was watching like the Def Leppard Hysteria classic albums documentary because like Mutt Lange is the fucking goat and he's like one of the best producers ever. I think the Shania Twain record that he did is like the greatest sounding album ever. So, like, tell me, like, okay, listen to like I Feel Like a Woman vocals and tell me those aren't like the best sounding recorded vocals of like pop history.
I'm gonna have to listen, and then I'll go check it. But
It's like
probably because
straight
you
up
say
one of my
that.
favorite mixes. It's kind of crazy. Like all my favorite mixes are like female vocal mixes. It's like it's great. Like it's just like the way that they like treat their voices in like modern pop recording aspect is just like, oh, I just love the way it sounds so much. But anyways, the Def Leppard guys, they were talking about demoing. They would demo that record on like 4 tracks and stuff like that, and then bring it into the studio.
Wow.
Everyone's been recording at home for forever. Like you hear those stories of like how Metallica wrote the Black Album and like
I don't know the story.
oh they would I forget what their guitar player's name is. Travis can probably tell you.
Yeah.
I think it's
Kirk.
It's Kirk. Yeah, I always call him Kurt or Kirk. Whatever. I know that he surfs and has a cowboy hat from the Saint Anger documentary. But so anyways, yeah, like that dude would just like write riffs and then give the tape to Lars, and Lars would pick out the riffs that they were going to use, you know?
All right.
So
Wow.
like I don't know, like people kind of romanticize like music and being in a band as like this thing where it's like, and we just got together in a room and like magic happened. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like that's for your bullshit documentary story. Like that's not how anything gets done. And like it's always like one or two dudes like just getting together without the rest of their stupid band and making it happen.
And just yeah,
Like
I know that.
like God, I don't know. Like that it's just like you gotta like show people how the sausage is made if you want like the reality of it. Because like who's been at band practice and just like you're just like, dude, this is the most unproductive environment ever. Like you have to record yourself. You have to be able to get your ideas down because you're just a little bit more creative when you're chilling and hanging out by yourself, and it's easier to like get your ideas across when you don't have
I
to
usually
explain them to people.
I usually like also to start like the songs just like acoustic, and then picture like all the band and stuff. I think it's a good way to, I mean, at least you organize things, you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise the band practice is just chaos.
Also, another thing that like people always talk about is like if you write songs on piano, you'll use less chords. Like so if you write a song on guitar, you'll use a lot more chords. Or if you just start instead of starting with acoustic guitar, try starting a song on piano and you'll notice that you're only using maybe 3 or 4 chords at most over your melody.
All right.
Because on guitar you can like fidget too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
but yeah, I understand what you say. I understand because like yeah, you tend to go a little bit more wild. That happens with me, probably because my skills in the guitar are a little bit better than in the piano. But
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's this, and there's so much information out there that you can get, and it just depends what you want things to sound like, you know. So
all right,
envision your favorite record, and honestly, now we have the internet. You can just Google whatever you want. You know what I mean?
now exactly, brother, exactly, man. Dude, I think we covered a lot of ground on this conversation. We've been talking for roughly 40 minutes now, and
Oh wow.
No, man, time flies. Time flies when
Sorry,
you're having
everyone.
fun. No, 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 dude, don't be sorry. It was amazing, man. It was amazing. And again, I want to thank you for your time and for your energy for coming here and speaking this stuff to us. And yeah, man, like again, come. You're welcome at any time to jump in and talk about this kind of subjects or stuff that you want to talk because this is my platform, but it's also yours. And man, it's been a pleasure, and I hope I can see you soon somewhere play or you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, you're the best, Nelson. You're a positive light in a dark world.
Oh man, dude, I just try to yeah, I try to be the best version of myself every day, you know. And yeah, and this program and this show is actually helping me out loads, like
Yeah,
because I'm just talking to a lot of people and different people every day, listening to their opinions, their expressions, and their knowledge. Because everybody that is like here is sharing something, you know. So for me, it feels good because I'm learning stuff that sometimes I don't know because that's the cool stuff about living life. And it's good to maybe like open some horizons to people that are watching now or might watch later, you know.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, and new information is intimidating, and sometimes it's like scary to ask questions and things like that. But answer's always no until you ask. So just always
exactly,
reach out, always do whatever. If anyone has any questions, like hit me up.
exactly, yeah,
Like, but don't be shy. Like, please don't be shy. I'm happy to help. Like I've literally like mixed songs for people that just had a million questions, and I was like, let me just show you. I'll just send me your tracks. You know what I mean? It doesn't take me that long to do it. Like, I'm happy to help people wherever they can because I wish someone was that generous with their time when I was interested. You know, and now
I
and now I
understand,
can
man.
be that person for somebody else because I know they just want to learn. And they just want to know.
You're already are that person for somebody else, like for me or for Bernardo or for like these people that are watching this, because you actually like your way of working, you actually show what you're doing. Like it was amazing, like to work with you in the studio and to actually be there, because you just don't learn if you're like this, you know.
Yeah,
like like the whole experience of watching you like clear tracks, editing and doing like all this, like you see the process. So it's actually good to hang out, like, yeah, guys, if you have like a friend that is a sound engineer and you like just hang out with him and see how it works and like do this kind of stuff, because it's important to interact with this kind of people, so you might get and retain some knowledge from that subject, right, Scott?
yeah, yeah. I would hope so. Everyone can teach everybody something. You know what I mean?
Exactly, brother, exactly.
So,
Man, it was a great pleasure talking to you, man. And I hope you have a good day, because the day just started, right?
oh yeah, I'm gonna have the best day. I'm gonna do so much stuff today. I'm gonna make today count. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, amazing, brother. Dude, thank you so much. Send my love to Ash as well,
I
and
will, bro.
to everybody there. Yeah, I'm just happy to see your face and talk to you, man.
Absolutely. All right, Nelson. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, man.
Big hug, brother.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Take care.
Take care, brother. All right. So for you that might want like start recording and yeah, basically start recording your stuff. Um, you can watch this later on IGTV and on YouTube. Scott today told us a lot of good tips on equipment and how to use like certain microphones and stuff like that. It's a really good talk to watch. So yeah, basically, um, I'm gonna be here tomorrow at the same time with Bianca, and the subject is gonna be totally different. But thanks for today and for everybody that joined me in today. See you soon. See you tomorrow. It's the same time. Bye bye.